Game day is here. We are going to find out a lot about Arizona and basically where this team stands. Let's get started here on Locked On Wildcats.
You are Locked On Wildcats, your daily podcast on the Arizona Wildcats. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats and making this your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. This show is brought to you today by FanDuel. Check it out. At FanDuel.com, you can bet on all kinds of good stuff. Now, here's the deal. College football is here. You got Arizona, you got Kansas State. Why not hop in there? All right, now, we are going to find out so much more about Arizona, and we're going to find out a ton about Arizona and Kansas State in this game. I think the first thing that we are going to find out, though, is, again, Arizona's going into a hostile environment. Arizona's going into a difficult place to play, obviously. And Kansas State is obviously a very, very good football team. So let's talk a little bit about what you need to know about Kansas State. First of all, this is kind of a team that's a little bit like kind of this carbon copy almost of Utah in how they go about winning games, how they go about doing things. They like to run the ball, and they are very, very tough in the trenches. And when I say very, very tough in the trenches, I mean very, very tough. And I think one thing that we need to really keep an eye on in this game is how is Arizona's offensive line going to hold up first and foremost. Now, I would certainly expect Josh Baker to be back, and that is going to be a huge, huge thing. With Josh Baker, he's the dude that calls the lines. He's the one that calls out all the plays. And you could just see against NAU too that when he wasn't out there, it was just a different thing for Arizona, and it was not a good thing for Arizona. With that is going to be big. Again, against NAU, you basically saw an offensive line that was all kind of going in different directions. Didn't really know where they were going. That was obviously not a good thing. Arizona now is in much, much better shape. Josh Baker is the one dude that you don't realize how good you have it until he is gone. And so having him back with his litany of experience is great. Again, I think a lot of times people don't really realize how good he is. The offensive line being back and being in much better shape now is a great thing for Arizona. Now, when it comes to the rest of the offensive line, hoping that Big Rhino is back. Big Rhino is back. That makes things a lot easier for Arizona, and that would be a great thing. I think that obviously he acquitted himself very well before he got hurt, and in camp he looked really, really good. Big Jonas Sabanea obviously manning that right tackle spot. They're going to keep him there, it sounds like, mainly because he spent basically all camp playing right tackle, and he wants to stay at right tackle. So I understand that one. But they got to be able to figure out that left tackle position, whether it's going to be Michael Wooten, whether it's going to be Big Rhino. You got to be able to put somebody in there that can play. I think the one thing that is good about this, though, is that you've had the coaching staff, I think, basically decided that you can't put Matthew Lotto out there yet. He's just not ready. I think Matthew Lotto is going to be very, very good, but he's just not at the point where you can put him out there and say, all right, you are good to go. Just not really at that spot. Now, when it comes to the rest of the line, then I expect it to perform well. But again, Kansas State, that is one of the best defensive lines that might be the best outside of Utah, maybe outside of Utah, the best defensive line that Arizona is going to play. So you're going to have a lot of players that are really going to be put on the spot and are going to be put on the spot early. That's the other thing that I think we need to keep an eye on here is that these guys this is going to be kind of a baptism by fire. And when a baptism by fire, that means that Arizona is going to, go against a loaded defensive line and one that gets pressure and consistently gets pressure from Mott to a bunch of other dudes. Like I said, this is a good defensive line. Going to be excited to see how Arizona does. Going to be excited to see how Arizona does play this one out. Now, The other one that is going to be big too is the tight end position. I need the tight end position to be able to really step up here. We talked about it all throughout camp. With the tight end, you got to be able to utilize them. And that's something that I think with Arizona, you got it. Because again, we saw the tight end, and you've got a really talented guy in Kean Burnett. Kean Burnett obviously is a very, very good football player. He's he's dynamic. He's explosive. He can do a lot of different things for you on the football field. I look for Arizona to try to utilize him in this game. And if they need help blocking, I could see some 2 tight end sets as well. That's going to be an interesting one. But up front, really controlling the line is going to be huge for Arizona. They've got to be able to contain that. They've got to be able to basically be able to give Noah and the running game time to be able to run. Now, then that gets to the running game as well. Obviously, JCM is out, but Quali Conley is going to be a big part of what Arizona wants to do all season. Whether a JCM was there or not, Quali Conley is going to be that dude. I think that he's going to put up, like I said, I think he could be a 1,200-yard player. I think he's got that type of potential, but he's also got to, I think he's also got to be able to get some running lanes. And if he can get some running lanes, then Arizona is going to be in very, very good shape. So I'm excited to see what exactly that does. Also, Kedrick Risano. Anybody that's seen him knows that is a very, very large individual. That is a guy that can run. That is a guy that can get downhill. And not only can he get downhill, he can make a lot of plays in a hurry. And he is, I think, with him, the great thing about him is that he is, he's only getting better, and that's the thing with him. He's only getting better. And so he is, great thing with him too, is that from a physicality perspective, he's going to fit in well in this game. I'm cautiously optimistic that Arizona is going to be able to have a good running game. And with that, both of those guys getting downhill, making plays, we'll see. But again, this is all going to come back to the offensive line. If the offensive line acquits itself well, I think Arizona's got an excellent, excellent chance in this game. And like I said, I'm excited to see exactly where this line does play out, where this line does grade out, because again, this is going to be a really good test. Now we're going to talk about the passing game here in a second, and then what Arizona needs to do defensively. Now, but like I said, with the tight end, continue to look for that. The tight end has got to be a huge part of what Arizona does. And if Arizona does well in that aspect, I think that it shows that Arizona is going to be in good shape. Now, let's talk a little bit about FanDuel first. FanDuel.com. Check it out. The great thing with FanDuel is this. You know for a fact that your money is good. You also know for a fact, too, that this is going to be a fun game to be able to bet on. And again, this is you got a situation here with college football, and you got a thing here with college football. You got a thing with basically any game right now. You got you got Colorado State. Go Rams! And not only go Rams, not only go Rams. Say that you're like, oh, you know what? I'd also like to go against, I don't know, Washington. Either way, check it out. FanDuel.com has you covered. And that is the great thing about it. Okay, now, the great thing about, too, with FanDuel.com is that, again, you know your money is good. So, again, check it out. All kinds of really good stuff. All right, that great thing about it, too, is also football is here. And that is a really, really good thing. Football is here. So check it out. And then we've also got, what do we got here? We got Factor Meal Kits. Factor Meal Kits. All right, now check it out. Again, with Factor Meal Kits too, you want to continue to get stronger. You want to continue to get stronger. You want to eat well. Check out Factor Meal Kits. And with Factor Meal Kits, head to factormeals.com/lockedon. And with you go to Locked On College 50 and use code Locked On College 50, get 50% off your first order. That is, check it out, Factor Meal Kits. Everybody is using it. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Now, let's talk a little bit about the Arizona passing game here. With the Arizona passing game, the one thing that I think is going to be really, really good with this is the one thing that's going to be really, really good about this is that he is I think this passing game is going to be exquisite if he gets time. I think with Arizona, if Noah Fafita gets time, I think you're going to have a very, very good situation here. But again, he's got to get time. That's why this all comes back to the offensive line for me. If the offensive line acquits itself well, then Arizona is going to acquit itself well. Noah Fafita is going to be able to, I think, make plays through the air in this game if he's got time. Again, I look for T-Mac to have a big game. And not only do I look for T-Mac to have a big game, I look for T-Mac to kind of snap out of it. Now, again, against NAU, just kind of looked out of it. But I think he's going to bounce back in a big, big way. And I think with T-Mac, that's what you got to see. Now, I need Jeremiah Patterson. To be able to break out, to be able to run after the catch, show what he showed in camp. And if he can show what he showed in camp, then I think that you could. I think if you show what you in camp, that you're that Arizona is going to be in a good spot. But again, it's going to come down to that passing game. And not only is it going to come down to that passing game, it's also going to come down to a situation where he's also going to come out there and say that this is going to be a situation where Arizona is going to need somebody else to step up. And not only that, he's going to. That's the one dude, because I think with this squad, you do know that Montana Lamonius Craig, that he's going to with Montana Lamonius Craig, that he's going to probably not get open. He's not going to be able to probably get a lot of stuff where he's just going to be the case. He's going to be out there a lot, and I just don't think that he's going to do much. So Jeremiah Patterson is that dude. I'd love to see Malachi Riley get involved in that as well. And if he can get involved in that as well, I think that he's going to be that dude. Again, Montana, just not that guy, in my opinion. We will find out though. Okay, now getting back to the defense, now let's talk a little bit about the Arizona defense, because that's where I think that this is going to be absolutely huge. With Arizona, this defense has to be able to step up. And not only does it have to be able to step up, it has to be able to get, like I said, just get better across the board. And that is a big part of that. Against NAU, it showed a lot more. Just basically being in the right stuff at the right time. And I think that there's enough potential on this team. I think there's enough potential to be able to, I would say the best thing is to be able to just contain what you can contain. And a big part of this is if Avery Johnson beats you up beats you passing, then so be it. That's where I'm at with him. He's got a world of talent. He's very fast. He's also not shown that he could necessarily be a great passer in the pocket. I think you got to be able to keep him in the pocket. And that I think also with this team, that you've also got to be able to sit there and say that this is a squad that is the defensive backs. If Dalton Johnson doesn't play, that's obviously a hit. But we talked about this pretty much all season, that the other safeties, it's time to step up. It's Owen Goss, guys like that. I think you're going to see a lot of Owen Goss. I think you're going to see a lot of QB spy in this game as well. If Owen Goss can do that, then then if Owen Goss can do that, then I think Arizona is going to possibly be in pretty good shape. Now, I think with the other safeties, Genesis Smith, Gunnar Maldonado, this is also going to be a big game for Marquise Groves-Killebrew. If Marquise Groves-Killebrew can play well, then I think Arizona is going to be in a good spot. Now, Tacario Davis as well. It's going to be a big game for him. Now, Kansas State, they don't necessarily have anybody that is super dynamic, like a T-Mac, obviously, in the passing game, but they're going to kind of spread the ball around. They're going to try to at least. But again, this is not a dynamic passing attack. This is a passing attack that is very much about staying on schedule, staying on point, because you've got two beast running backs in the backfield. DJ Giddens, obviously a fantastic running back. He's a dude that rushed for almost 1,300 yards last year. Is probably going to do it again this year. Feels very much like an NFL back. Not only does he feel like an NFL back, he feels like somebody that has all-American potential. And we've talked about this in the we've talked about this before in the past, that the Big 12 is also the best running backs conference in the entire country. It just is. You see some of the players that come there, from a Neal, from a Giddens, to a heck, a Scattaboo at this point, to an Ollie Gordon. I can just keep going on and on. UCF, and there's just a lot of really, really good running backs. So there is that. Now, when it comes to this squad, you also have a team that that is, I think, pretty much at the point now where you do know for a fact that Arizona is in a spot where you're going to have to stop the running game. And that's where I'm at. If Avery Johnson beats you, so be it. But I can't have Giddens. And another guy, too, that hasn't gotten a lot of burn this year, but does worry me, is Dylan Edwards. Dylan Edwards is very, very fast. He's very explosive. And he's another one that's just a really, really good football player. I think that there's going to be a game when he pops out and you're like, oh, crap, that dude had like 9 catches for like 90. That dude had like 9 carries for like 90 yards, which is basically what he's done so far on the season. He worries me as well. You got a big old line up front. Now, they did lose some players off their lines. That is something to obviously keep in mind. They did lose some players off their line. It's not as good as it was last year, I think, but again, it's still big, it's still physical, and they are going to look to run the ball. Arizona's defensive line is going to have to step up. With Chuba Muai, with Isaiah Johnson, these dudes are going to have to be able to pace the middle. And then on the outside, you've also got Trey Smith. You've also got Ty. Those guys are going to have big games. If they have big games, then I think Arizona is going to be in pretty good shape. But the defense, you just can't get beat up. That's where I'm at. It's like what we talked about 3-4 years ago, where you just don't, from an Arizona perspective, you just don't want the defense to be able to just basically get pushed around. And if I can have them be middle tier in the Big 12, then there's a lot to take in there. Now, I think with a big part of this is also that Arizona, though, has to be able to perform well. And if Arizona performs well on the defensive side, I think the offense is going to be able to score points. But we're really going to find out a lot of this, and we're going to talk here in a second about what an impact of a win and what a loss would be, and what kind of win and what kind of loss. But first, let's talk about LinkedIn. Another thing, LinkedIn. People use it because it works. That's what's great about LinkedIn. You should check out LinkedIn as well. I know people that got jobs on LinkedIn. I know people that hired people from LinkedIn. So again, check it out. What I think is really, really cool about it too is that, it is a nationally known entity. Everybody uses it. And the thing about it too is that when everybody uses it, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege, post your job for free. All kinds of really, really good stuff. The best thing about LinkedIn, too, again, is that it works. It's nationally known. It's nationally respected. And there's just a lot of good stuff with it. Listen, I know somebody that got hired. I have a boss who doesn't even like me, who continuously goes on my pretty much inactive LinkedIn to just look, because that is your one-stop shop. Check it out, linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Post your job for free. Thanks for keeping it locked on Wildcats. I am your host, Mike Luke. All right, now let's talk a little bit more about Arizona and Kansas State. Here's also where I'm at. If Arizona wins this game, nobody cares about NAU. Nobody cares about the defensive performance against University of New Mexico. Nobody cares. This is a new season at this point. Arizona has got to play well, and if Arizona plays well, then Arizona is going to be in. Arizona, I think, has enough talent to be able to win this game, but Arizona has got to be able to play well. If you play well, then you're going to be pretty well off. Now, the other thing, too, with this team, though, is if it's a close loss, okay. I don't love it. You never want to go into a game with a moral victory, especially with these kind of players, but I at least get it. The one thing I can't have is a blowout. I can't get pushed around on the line of scrimmage. I can't get not only can I not get pushed around on the line of scrimmage, I can't have a spot where it's like 31-10 and it feels like it's like 58-0. Kind of like that Nebraska-Colorado game. I can't have that kind of feel. If I've got that kind of feel, then I think that we're in some difficult shape at that point. I cannot have that. So there's obviously that. When it comes to Arizona, though, the one thing though is that I do think we are in a spot where how do I put this? You just know that you got to be able to perform well in this game. A close loss is not the end of the world. Excuse me. A close loss is not the end of the world, but a blowout, all of a sudden you're like, man, and then you got Utah in 2 weeks. So you got to be able to keep this game close. You got to be able to quit it well. And let's be honest here too. We shouldn't be into moral victories. This is a team with 3 top 50 NFL prospects, 5 All-American types, a ton of players returning. This should be a good team. It's a veteran coaching staff. Again, I know that it's not a situation where, it's like proven at the highest level, but Brennan's been around. Dwayne Akeen has been around. Dino Baber's been around. They know what they have here. And again, Arizona's got to win. I've said before the year that it's 9 wins or bust for me in the regular season. I need to be able to get 10. But that's where I'm at. A blowout in this game would be very disheartening because, like I said, then you got a week and a half, then you got Utah coming up, and then that game worries me very much as well. But we're going to know a lot about this team. I'm going to back the A on this one. I am going to go Arizona 31, KState 28. That's where I'm at. I think Arizona has enough talent in this. I think they're going to be healthier on the O-line, but we will see. And you know what? If we're sitting here and we're talking about a blowout, then we got other things. We got other issues to worry about. So that's where I'm at. But that's where I think Arizona. I'm cautiously optimistic in this game about Arizona and what they can do. So we will find that out. But again, going 31-28, good guys on that. Now we'll have a post-game show then coming back tomorrow, breaking this all down, everything that happened. Hopefully we're recapping a win. But as always, very much appreciate you all making Locked On Wildcats your first listen of the day. I'm your host, Mike Luke. Bear down, back the A, and we will be back with you tomorrow. Talk to you soon.